This is such a treat to be here today, and I'm just so excited to be at Johnson High School. And Principal Thompson, thank you. And walking into this building and meeting the students and meeting the staff and the faculty, it was just an honor, and I was so impressed. So I am here today with, of course, the mayor, Mayor Coleman. I'd like to recognize him, and Council Member Talbot. I'd like to recognize him, and also Library Director Jane Eastwood. Thank you. Thank all three of them for being here. This is such an exciting event. Last night I happened to be at home talking to my spouse about what was going to happen today, and she said, "This is absolutely fantastic." And all the time I spent as a young person going through encyclopedias trying to catch up on everything really does make a difference. You know, Johnson is an example of the district's commitment to transferring teaching and learning experience. And it's the home of our Genius Squad. Is that true? We have a Genius Squad at Johnson. That's pretty big shoes to fill there, isn't it? Isn't that fantastic? And what we're going to talk about today are the superb library services team, many of whom are here today. And I am pleased to recognize and to bring up, and I hope I say this right, Isabella Patrick Pagado, is that right? No, I messed that up.
Isabel Patrick Pacheco.
Pacheco, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I apologize for that. And Isabella is currently a junior right here at Johnson. She is a PSEO student. She is at Century. She participates in speech. You are also a member of the National Honor Society. Wow. And College Possible. And she plans to go into engineering at the University of Purdue down the road. Is that right? How impressive. In her free time, which I doubt she has very much of it, she happens to squeeze in some music, drawing, reading, and anything from the wonders of astronomy to fiction to comic books. How interesting. It is, oh, that's all right. It is such a treat to meet you today, such an honor to be at Johnson, and to celebrate with you this wonderful opportunity of making sure that all of our students in St. Paul are connected to the city media centers and libraries. And, you know, this is an example, again, of the wonderful partnership we have with the city of St. Paul and how gracious they are and how wonderful they are to work with. So, Isabella, would you like to come up? Please. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Hi. So I'm Isabel. I grew up with libraries and books. I used to go to them all the time. Books were essentially my second teachers outside of school, and not just in academics. Arguably today, however, I don't have as much time as I used to go to the library. I have 4 younger sisters, and we all have very busy lives inside and outside of school. So, saying that, I am very excited for the launch of Library Go because of that. It's so convenient and accessible to everyone, and I have the resources of a whole library at my fingertips. And not just for me, but for all other students here in the St. Paul district as well. I'm mostly ecstatic, however, about the fact that of the variety that Library Go is going to be able to offer all these students. Students won't be experiencing some stereotypical old, quiet, strict library anymore. They'll be experiencing a personalized library with all the different tools that it can offer, from music to tutoring to research databases and, of course, books. No one student's experience with Library Go is going to be the same anymore. It's all going to be unique to themselves. And I mean, you won't have to worry about things like losing your library card or overdue books after 2 weeks, which I'm sure we've all experienced before. And I know that I have already been using Library Go myself a lot for academic purposes right now, but I am fully intending to use it for fun as well in the future. So, without further ado, more student voices and Library Go video. Thank you.
Really convenient, it's accessible. You don't have to go to the library to be able to get books, songs, help in the middle of the night, you know.
High schools have to have their doors and their borders and their networks open to the world. And so we're super thrilled about working with the St. Paul Library and that our students are able to access those kinds of resources beyond school. The more windows they have on the world, the better off they're going to be when they go on to college and decide what they want to do next.
And I find it actually really cool that the public library is teaming up with the school's library.
I will use the public library more now because it's much more convenient now that it's all on technology and everything's more easily accessible.
You don't have to carry around the card and worry about losing it. It's just easier to get us all connected to the library.
It's actually very easy to navigate through the website. I thought that was very helpful. Everything is straightforward and you kind of get the hang of it right when you see it.
But there's so many new things that I didn't use before. So I think because of those new resources, then I'll be able to visit the library and more different things.
My favorite thing was, of course, the music. They had a lot of wide variety of options and really good choices.
At first, I thought it was just a way to listen to music, but I found out I can also download music, so that was pretty cool.
If I'm trying to look for a specific resource such as economics, diplomatic, what have you, I just enter into the search box and presto, it's there. Library Go helped me understand China, helped me find books on China, helped me find articles, news articles, which was extremely helpful in my debate research.
I came across BrainFuse, which they had a lot of pre-test and practice tests that actually were reading, writing, and other skills you could actually use. So I found that really, really helpful because I did actually do one of the pre-tests, and they have all different grade levels, elementary, all the way to high school.
Students will benefit from the live tutoring because, you know, some kids don't have the resources they need at home or, you know, at schools. This could be a really great way for them to be able to get their stuff done and succeed in school.
I feel like I would probably search Library Go before using the actual library just because I can have it in the comfort of my home.
Because we live in this generation where everyone's on their phones or their devices, well, it's just something else that they can do and it's convenient for them.
I'm really excited for her to be able to check out materials using her school ID. I think it really helps bridge what's happening in school to some of the resources that the libraries have. Library Go is an example of two huge institutions coming together and doing what's best for their patrons. I'm really excited about that.
Good morning. I'm Jane Eastwood. I'm director of the St. Paul Public Library. And I actually don't think there's anything left to say. I mean, this video kind of said it all, and you guys kind of said it all about why Library Go is such a great tool for all of you, and I think hopefully for your families and for everyone here in St. Paul. You know, libraries, whether they're school libraries or they're our public libraries, are incredible resources for our youth, for our families, for our little ones coming up. And you're already showing us that you're going to be even more engaged than we've already had you. And we have a lot of kids in our libraries, which we love. And you know, if we're doing our job, you're going to read more. You're going to think about what you're reading. You're going to look for different resources. You're going to find things you never saw before because that's how you use online resources already. So we know this is going to work beyond our wildest dreams, and you're going to take it places we never thought of. So I'm not reading any of my remarks here, but I do have to say something because I was so inspired by everything you said that we have a lot of people here to thank, the adults in the room who made this happen. You know, there have been efforts to try to get a school library card going for quite a while, but it wasn't until President Obama sort of laid down his library challenge it's called Connect Ed Libraries, to get these kinds of virtual electronic library cards in the hands of every school kid. And the mayor and Superintendent Silva immediately signed on. And as soon as we had that permission, and that was just last spring, this project just flew. And it flew because the adults knew it was a good thing, but it also flew because the Genius Squad and youth like you tested it out and helped us make it better. So thank you to the many people who did this, and I have to call out the technology staff from both the school district and the city, the Office of Teaching and Learning, our own youth services staff, the library staff in both public libraries and schools, and of course our leadership, who knew that this was the right thing, who had a vision that this is where we needed to go. So with that, I'm just going to turn the mic over to our St. Paul Public Library Board Chair and Ward 3 Council Member, Chris Tolbert.
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning. I did have to laugh a little bit to hear that Johnson has a Genius Squad, because when I was walking up to the school, I'd walked by the football field, and it brought back memories of what I called the goon squad of the Johnson football players beating me up on the football field, and how sore I was for days after that. And now Johnson sure has changed now that we have a Genius Squad. But actually, it's fantastic that you do have a Genius Squad, because the science and technology and learning about that and investing in that and experimenting with that is so important to our future, not just as a city, but as a country. I know that the Genius Squad are the people who are going to help fix our country, help fix our city, and make sure that we're successful in the future. So I'm glad you have a Genius Squad here. Libraries, as you know, and this is a beautiful library for a school library, they really can be a bridge to the world. There's so much information, and there's so much more than just books. There's music, there's DVDs, there's other information, there's periodicals, there's magazines, whatever you might think. And the St. Paul Public Libraries has a ton of that. And that's what's so important about this, is bridging that opportunity so you guys can know that and have access to that as well. I know that it's important, and this is what the library card is going to help do, to encourage, to welcome, and even sometimes to prod students and youth to go to our libraries, to use our libraries, or check in on the internet in those libraries. And I know a lot of you are going to go there on your own because it's really a great place to read. It's a place where you want to find information. But we also need to prod some people. I know that would have been me, where my mom was like, get your butt to the library, Chris, because you need to study. But connecting that is so important, and we're so happy to have this partnership. It's a great partnership. Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, St. Paul Public Schools, and our library staff who've made that use it. Now it's up to you, students, to make sure that this is successful, because you are our future, and we look forward to that. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the person who was really responsible for a lot of this, our leader in the city of St. Paul, Mayor Coleman, who has just done a fantastic job of making sure that education doesn't stop when the bell rings at 2 o'clock, but making sure that education goes throughout our lives, throughout our days, and that St. Paul continues to have the workforce and the people that are going to lead into our future. So, Mayor Coleman, thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. First of all, Chris, thank you for your commitment to libraries and your passion for the mission of our libraries. And Jane, thank you for your continued leadership of our libraries. And even though you have the interim label, Superintendent Thein, you've been just a great leader for our school district already, and we thank you so much. I love libraries. It's hard for me to sit in a library because I always want to just go start pulling books off the shelf and start reading. You look at just the titles of all these books. You got Lyndon Johnson, Master of the Senate. You got a book on Black Lives Matters, on equity, on gender equity, and looks like in maybe Middle Eastern countries. You've got books like Exodus by Leon Uris, and so you've got all these Friday Night Lights. I look around the library and I look at all the connections that we have to St. Paul authors. You got Steve Thayer over here, who used to write for the St. Paul paper. Friday Night Lights, has anybody read that book about the football league in Texas, a TV show? He used to be a reporter for the St. Paul paper, Buzz Bissinger. So it's kind of fun as you look around the room and you kind of go, wow, there's all these connections and these wonderful things, but you can learn so much. But none of these books do any good if they're just kind of sitting on the shelf and don't get accessed, right? If we don't read them, It doesn't matter how good a book they are or what information is in them. And if you don't have access to all the incredible material that the library has, then we're not getting our money's worth. And you can, as we were talking about it, as well as you were talking about, kind of accessing all the things. And I suspect that in your path to the Honor Society, that having access to all the materials in the library was probably a pretty good thing. But we got to keep on pushing that and promoting it. We already have, between junior high and high school students, 16,000 kids that have all this kind of seamless access to all the materials that the libraries have. And by the beginning of 2017, we'll have all 38,000 students in the St. Paul Public Library or St. Paul Public School System that will have seamless access to all the materials. This is any one of these rooms that you go into is just a piece of all the information that the libraries contain. When I was younger, which is like a long time ago, if you wanted to access information, it was really hard. You had to go into the library. They had this stuff called microfiche, and it was the worst way to get information ever. And you search through the list of periodicals, and you could never find anything. Now you can just Google anything and get instant information. But when you think about accessing it that seamlessly through the libraries, how much that will help you learn about something that you're interested in. It's not just, for me, it's not just about learning, okay, I've got this subject and I got to write a paper and I got to do something about it. It's what's your passion? Are you interested in music? Are you interested in history? Are you interested in horses? Are you interested in mountains? You can do anything that you want. If you have access to it, you can learn about it, and if you can learn about it, you can figure out how to do it. And I think that's what's so important about this work. It was great that the president launched this challenge for communities across the country. It was great to. I always like to say, well, I was at an event hosted by the White House, which sounds really cool. I don't think I'm going to be able to say that too much in the future with this new president. I don't know that I'll be invited to the White House quite as often as I was under this current president. So I'm just going to take the opportunities that I have to say the president asked us to do these things, but he did, and because he understood the power of libraries, he understood what happens when your brain can connect to all of the resources of the library, and how that frees you up to do anything that you want to do, be anything that you want to be, obtain anything that you want to obtain. So this is a great program. This is a great collaboration between the district and the libraries and the city of St. Paul, and we just got to keep on pushing. But at the end of the day, it's up to all the students to let people know about this. A little positive peer pressure about, it's maybe you seriously, you could spend a little bit more time in the library. It wouldn't hurt you. Chris's mom sent him to the library because she wanted him to study. My mom sent me to the library because she just really wanted me out from underneath her feet. But whatever it takes, go to the library, access it. You now can access it easier than you've ever been able to. We appreciate the president's challenge, and I'm so grateful that I live and get to be the mayor of a community that not only took up that challenge, but ran with it, and now are creating access for all of our students to resources beyond anything that we could ever have imagined when I was young. Thank you so much.